Version 6.4 is shaping up to be one of those updates that feels quiet on the surface, but much heavier once you start pulling at the details. Instead of being driven purely by flashy reveals, the conversation around this patch has gradually shifted toward long-term implications. Between a possible new standard banner addition, the first concrete look at Varka's role in gameplay, and a major Mondstadt expansion finally moving forward, this update touches progression, trust, and world building all at once. So in this video, we're not chasing hype. We're breaking down what's actually confirmed, what logically fits Genshin's design history, and where players may be getting ahead of themselves. But before that, want a cheaper way to top up your Genshin account? LDShop is a trusted top-up platform offering discounts starting at 15% off. Topping up is quick and secure. Just choose your server, enter your game ID, and your Genesis crystals arrive in minutes. You can compare LDShop's prices to the in-game store. 6,480 Genesis crystals cost $75 instead of $99. And right now, if you use my link, you'll get a 15% off coupon and an extra 5% off, saving up to $50. You'll also get the first-time double crystal bonus, just like in-game. Spend over $80 to unlock VIP status, which rewards you with a free Welkin moon. Check the link in the description or pinned comment to start saving big with LDShop. Fast, safe, and reliable. Let's start with a topic that quietly took over version 6.4 discussions: the idea of a new character entering the standard banner. Standard editions are rare by design, which is why even a possibility immediately changes how people evaluate a patch. What's interesting this time isn't just that a new standard unit may be coming, but which kind of character players are now willing to accept in that role. That shift alone says a lot about how player expectations around the standard banner have matured over time. The name that keeps coming up is Liyue. Liyue is directly referenced by Varka during the Archon quest tied to Mondstadt's expedition storyline and is described as someone currently active and exceptionally capable. He isn't framed as a legend or a historical figure, but as a living presence operating alongside the Knights of Favonius. That framing is important because it positions him as relevant to the present timeline rather than as background lore. Lore-wise, Liyue serves as the vice captain of the 5th Company, one of the units that accompanied Varka beyond Mondstadt. While the company's captain remains unnamed, we do know that elements of this group began returning after the Wild Hunt incident. That places Liyue in a very specific category within Genshin storytelling. Over time, Genshin has developed an unspoken rule for standard banner characters. They tend to either be foundational early game units or later additions who support the world without dominating the narrative. The response to Liyue isn't excitement in the usual sense, but relief. There was genuine concern that Varka himself could be placed into the standard pool, which would have crossed a line for many players given his build-up over multiple years. Once attention shifted toward Liyue instead, the tone cooled almost instantly. The discussion became less emotional and more practical almost overnight. From there, speculation naturally turns toward role and element, though this is where caution matters. Mondstadt still lacks Dendro representation, and the standard banner has no Geo unit, so expectations form quickly. But Genshin has never been consistent about tying story roles to combat identities. What history does suggest is that standard characters are usually designed for flexibility. They prioritize broad usefulness over extreme specialization. That leads many to expect a kit centered on support, survivability, or team utility rather than peak damage output. In other words, someone designed to stay useful across multiple team archetypes rather than defining a single meta. Now, shifting to the centerpiece of version 6.4, Varka himself. For the first time, we have a clearer picture of how he's expected to function in combat. Varka is shaping up to be an Anemo Claymore user built around burst-oriented gameplay rather than extended field time. Instead of replacing sustained Anemo carries, his design leans toward fast, high-impact windows of damage followed by rotation swaps. This kind of pacing fits well with how modern teams are being structured. Despite wielding a claymore, lore consistently emphasizes his speed rather than brute force. That lines up with descriptions pointing toward a kit that feels closer to a burst assassin than a traditional heavy hitter. A useful comparison is imagining a Skirk-style damage profile adapted to a claymore frame. Big moments, decisive hits, then out. As for Varka's team synergies, Early impressions suggest strong compatibility with crowd control and buff-oriented supports, particularly those tied to Mondstadt and Hexenzirkel adjacent characters. His design appears built to slot cleanly into quick rotations rather than demanding full-team restructuring. That flexibility may end up being one of his biggest strengths. Version 6.4 appears to follow a heavily Mondstadt-centered structure. The first phase is expected to feature Varka alongside a rerun of Escoffier, who has been long overdue for a return. The second phase introduces a new character, Liyue, with the remaining rerun slots still uncertain. Beyond characters, 6.4 finally delivers something Mondstadt has lacked for years, a major map expansion. Dormant Port is confirmed to be a full-scale region rather than a small side area. Lore has long framed it as Mondstadt's primary trade hub, and references to trade routes, abyss activity, and past event dialogue all point to this location being a key narrative junction rather than simple scenery. Geographically, its exact placement is still debated, but its importance isn't. This expansion repositions Mondstadt as an active participant in global trade and political tension rather than a static starting zone. It subtly reframes how Mondstadt fits into the broader world of Teyvat. Lately, Liyue has been coming up more often in balanced discussions, not because of a single leak or announcement, but because players are re-examining older regions through a more modern lens. The focus has shifted away from raw strength and toward how well characters actually fit into the way combat works today. Many Liyue characters still function as intended, but they were designed around earlier systems, slower pacing, and simpler rotations, which can make them feel slightly out of sync rather than outright weak. HOYOVERSE's recent approach to adjustments helps explain why this conversation exists. Past changes haven't been about pushing power higher, but about improving usability, flow, and interaction clarity. From that perspective, Liyue stands out as a natural candidate for refinement. It sits between the game's earliest design philosophy and its current complexity, making it more about alignment than correction. That said, none of this confirms upcoming changes. It simply explains why Liyue keeps appearing in these discussions at all, not as a guarantee, but as a logical point of interest. When you step back, version 6.4 feels less like a spectacle patch and more like a foundation update. It tests trust around standard banner decisions, expands one of the game's oldest regions in a meaningful way, and finally brings a long-teased figure into mechanical focus without forcing him into every role at once. So the real question isn't whether a specific character lands on a specific banner. It's what players want standard characters to represent at this stage of the game. Longevity? Reliability? Quiet value that ages well? However you answer, that probably says more about how you play Genshin than any leak ever could. If you want more breakdowns that separate confirmed information from reasonable inference without turning everything into hype fuel, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments what you think a modern standard banner character should actually bring to the roster. And as always, check the links below for current LDshop deals on Genesis crystals.
All right, now we're talking.